You are not special. You are not a delicate and unique little snowflake. You are the same decaying organic matter as everybody else. Fight Club. Today we're going to be discussing Fight Club. More importantly, we're going to be discussing key themes in Fight Club. Some of you have started this book, and maybe you've started watching the film as well, and you're starting to think, good God, what is wrong with my professor? It's true, while rereading the text, I myself was thinking that. This is a very graphic and intense novel, and it isn't exactly obvious, 110%, what's going on at first. So in order to understand the novel and in order to understand the film, we have to understand the key themes. Now, what is a theme? It's a predominant idea that the film or the book or the text is dealing with. Okay, so here are some themes. The first theme that I want to talk about is emasculation. This means the removal of one's manhood, both literally and figuratively in the case of Fight Club. Emasculation is a theme that we see all throughout the novel. The narrator is emasculated by his job, where he just sort of lives in a sterile environment watching copiers print. There are other emasculated characters such as Bob in Remaining Men Together. The idea behind the trend of emasculation is that there is something about the society in which the narrator lives, the consumerist society in which he lives, that is emasculating, that robs men of their sense of manliness. So that is one of the themes in Fight Club that you might want to consider while reading it. Consumerism. Now, I know I have a lot of students with a wide array of political opinions. When I talk about consumerism, I'm not saying that we need to, get rid of consumerism or that it's completely all bad or whatever. I think that we can talk about these subjects, criticize these subjects without necessarily making a 100% value judgment one way or the other. So consumerism is a phenomena that has some positives. We all enjoy consumerism. We like having objects and items at our disposal. We like going to the grocery store and having what we want there, like toilet paper, for example. But consumerism has its limits, and sometimes consumerism can get a little too, people can get too obsessed with it. They can get too obsessed with buying things, and they start to define their identity on the basis of what they own and what they buy. And this is where, if you recall the scene from the film or some of the scenes, it's in the text as well, but it's not quite as pronounced, the IKEA nesting instinct. When they're going through the narrator's apartment and talking about all of the different things he's bought from IKEA over the years and how they define him, that furniture was my life, he tells the police officer on the phone. But we find later from Tyler that it is only through the sort of removal of his attachment to these objects that he can become enlightened. Now, whether or not that state of enlightenment is desirable is up to you. I think we can safely say it's not. But suffice it to say that consumerism is one of the predominant themes of the film, and you definitely don't want to read the film without considering it. Society versus anarchism. Where does society come from? It comes from this idea called the social contract theory. And the social contract theory basically says that all of you have agreed to participate in society with the idea that you'll get some sort of something in return, right? We participate in society, so we'll get social protection, we'll get the benefits of having the roads paved and all this other stuff. And we make that as a form of social contract, right, with the people that govern us. However, when the social contract is not fulfilled, it begs the question, why are we doing this? And this is one of the questions that the narrator raises. The society that the narrator lives in is one that has basically robbed him of his humanity by a number of different ways. And so the question comes up, is the contract even worth it? Now, many of you will say yes, and you're probably right. But the film does definitely call into question, like, what are the limitations of this social contract? At what point is the notion of anarchism more desirable for individuals? Now, you could say never. I would tend to agree with you. Nevertheless, the film does play with these concepts, and so you'll want to consider that as well. Violence as a catharsis. We typically don't think of violence in a cathartic way. We think of violence as like a last resort sort of self-defense thing. But this film basically shows you how violence can be used as an outlet to express pent-up or negative emotions. Whether or not that's a good thing is kind of up to you, but you know, martial artists will tell you that the film is actually very accurate in its portrayal of violence as a cathartic act. What is catharsis? It's like a way to vent emotion or express emotion. Self-destruction. This is a strange idea. We live in a society that encourages mostly, at least in verbal form, self-improvement. But self-destruction is something that we tend to avoid. Yet Tyler Durden embraces self-destruction. The narrator embraces self-destruction because they claim that in destroying the self, they can attain true freedom. This is a radical notion, but it is still an interesting theme within the novel, and it's another one that you should consider. Enlightenment. What is enlightenment? Well, the concept of enlightenment originated from the religion of Buddhism, mainly, really before it, but Buddhism dealt with enlightenment as sort of coined the phrase enlightenment, meaning that it is a removal of one's attachment and an attaining of a pure perspective of the nature of reality. And the film deals with this a lot. The book deals with this a lot. Actually, if you remember in the support groups, the chambers, the colored chambers, and the penguin and the spirit and the power animal, that is making fun of the concept of enlightenment, because those 7 chambers are the chakras, right? And remember, his chakras won't open. Chakras are the energy points in the body in the Buddhist system. So that's sort of mocking or satirizing enlightenment, if you will. Also, the narrator claims he is enlightened because of Fight Club, because of self-destruction, and because of the total removal of physical and material attachment. These are very extreme ideas. How is the film dealing with them? How is the book dealing with them? Are they reinforcing these ideas, or are they calling these ideas into focus so that we can understand how they come about and why they're dangerous? I don't know. It's up to you. Human psychology. I don't know if a lot of you guys are in psychology with the school here. And you may know about Freud, the id, the ego, and the superego, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, the sort of the you that is you on the surface, and then the you that is you underneath. Now, without spoiling anything, hopefully you finish the book, or will finish it soon, but the novel deals very heavily with the idea of the self that is within and the self that is without. And this is a concept of psychology dating back to Freud and Jung. So keep in mind, human psychology, something that they're dealing with. Sex and sexuality, obviously a huge theme throughout the film and the book. Sometimes it can get a little graphic, and sometimes it can get, it presents sex and sexuality in a way that isn't exactly great, right? We kind of are repulsed, and we are made to recoil from the way that the narrator describes these things and the way that these things pop up throughout the novel and the film. However, crucial theme, you got to know it. Mental or physical illness. This kind of relates to psychology, but the issue of mental illness is explored heavily by this text kind of on its own. And again, not to give any spoilers, but that is something that you need to be aware of, and it's something that's going to influence your perspective of the text. And lastly, absentee fathers. Both the narrator and Tyler Durden have absentee fathers. The fathers are absent from their lives. This is a theme that pops up in Fight Club. I'm not exactly sure what to make of it, other than it might be a comment about the absence generally of masculine role models in the society, or whatever. But it is a theme that pops up. It's something that recurs. These are not the only themes that you can find in Fight Club. Many of you in the discussion boards have found some other themes that are really good. But themes are crucial to understanding the context of the film, and the context of the film is crucial to answering so what, and also to teasing out the significance of the signs that we find. You are going to be looking for signs in Fight Club, okay? This is a semiotic essay. So you're going to be looking for signs that you can be using to make an argument, and you can use these themes to sort of steer your argument. Use the signs to, in conversation with the themes, to create a thesis and topic sentence that will use the semiotic method to answer the questions in the prompt. Hopefully that wasn't too wordy for you. So I'm looking forward to the discussion boards and weighing in on them as they are turned in the next couple of days. and I am looking forward to maybe facilitating a conversation with some of you all through Collaborate about any questions you may have about the novel. Hopefully, if some of you are out there are confused, appalled, offended, or all of the above, hopefully our discussions in Collaborate will help you to sort some of that stuff out. So this has been the discussion on Fight Club themes. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you haven't gotten cabin fever to the point that I have. At least I'm able to come outside and enjoy my garden. Hopefully you all can do the same in some fashion or another. And I look forward to seeing your smiling faces over Blackboard in the future. Have a good one.